Good day, dear classmates! For Module 2, we will be discussing the theory grounding of advocacy. So at the end of the module, we should be able to discuss advocacy works with theoretical grounding and adopt a perspective to which we will ground our own practice of advocacy. I am Iris, and I work with Sir Jeff, Sir Brian, and Ma'am Sudi for this module. To start this module, I will be giving you a quick review on Craig's 7 traditions of communication theory. The first one is the cybernetic tradition. In this tradition, we see communication as some sort of information processes. In here, we focus on the system, the individuals or organizations, and the channels which are used in order to transmit the message. Communication is goal-oriented. We have a sender and we have a receiver. The sender has his objectives as he creates the message. He then utilizes a particular communication channel to be able to transmit the message. The message received by the receiver is not necessarily the message transmitted by the sender. It depends on some factors like the channel and the noise while the message is being transmitted. So basically, the cybernetic tradition has 3 main components. First, the goal or the message to be conveyed. Second is the difference between the goal and what was actually conveyed. And the last one is feedback. Let me illustrate an example. One good example is the Pass the Message game. Player 1 has a message. He will convey it to person 2. Then person 2 will convey it to player 3, and so on and so forth. Along the way, the message is subject to noise and changes from one person to another. The last player to receive the message will say aloud what the message they received. The message of the last player may not be the same message that player 1 has conveyed. The next one is the socio-psychological tradition. This tradition focuses on stimuli and reaction. If the cybernetic tradition sees communication as an information process, in the socio-psychological tradition, it sees communication as an interpersonal interaction. We speak about cause and effect relationships within the communicative process. It's all about expression, interaction, and influence. Basically, the socio-psychological tradition is about who says what, to whom, and with what effect. One good example is a TV commercial. The online selling platform Shopee chose Chris Aquino to endorse their platform. Who? Chris Aquino. She is an artist with a credible reputation and standing in the society. She is also known to shop designer items and top-of-the-line brands. What? To ensure buyers that shopping on Shopee is legit and the items being sold here are of good quality and can pass Chris Aquino's standards. Who? The online shoppers who wanted to shop at the convenience of their homes and to avoid exposure to COVID-19 virus. What effect? Since Shopee has used Chris Aquino to endorse their platform, more people will be convinced to buy from them. They will be convinced that shopping on Shopee can give them a satisfactory shopping experience. The third one is the socio-cultural tradition. In here, communication is seen as a symbolic process in reproduction and production of social order. It's all about context, culture, and social practices. When people communicate, they produce and reproduce culture. Individuals tend to talk to each other, and while they are communicating, they create the shared meaning and the shared understanding on what the world is and what this particular situation is. The fourth one is the critical tradition. The 2 main points of this tradition are language and ideology. The group who controls the language can actually be dominant within the given society. Critical scholars challenge 3 features of contemporary society. The first one is the control of language to perpetuate power imbalances. The second one is the role of mass media in dulling sensitivity to repression. And the third one is blind reliance on the scientific method and uncritical acceptance of empirical findings. This tradition brings the idea that social arrangements are loaded to enforce the power of certain stakeholders in ways that dominate and even oppress others. The critical school hopes to move beyond feelings of sympathy and stimulate praxis. The fifth tradition is the rhetorical tradition. In this tradition, we use orative public speaking. This is all about how we can influence through verbal and nonverbal communication. The sixth tradition is the phenomenological tradition. This tradition questions rhetorics and semiotics. Signs and symbols can be seen differently by people with different backgrounds, and public speaking does not usually work in the same different audiences. So in phenomenological tradition, the focus is more on the individual interpreter rather than the function and symbolic nature of the sign itself. People interpret messages and experiences by filtering the comprehension through their own values and understanding, and therefore deciphering the world through this. The last tradition is the semiotic tradition. In here, we speak about signs and symbols, as communication can be seen as sharing meaning through system of signs. Let me illustrate an example. Two people who know each other well are talking to each other. A person who sees them talking from a distance might not completely understand what's going on, or she can misinterpret the conversation. They may have special names and special different jargon for the situations and for the previous experiences they already have. And this person trying to understand what the signs are and what the symbols within the interaction are is quite essential and important. One example would be the viral commercial ad of RC Cola, where there is a scenario featuring a kid with glasses planted on his back and a mom with an RC Cola bottle head. Some netizens have negative feedbacks about this one because their interpretations are different from what the creators would want to convey to the audience. According to RC Cola, with their company unable to compete on price in the Filipino market due to the sugar tax, they look for an untapped area of distinctiveness that would engage Gen Z audiences, landing on humor and absurdity. So some people who do not know the story behind misinterpreted the message of the ad. To sum up, cybernetic tradition is all about the system through which we transmit our message. Social psychological tradition focused at an individual and this behavioral aspect of his communicating practices. Social cultural tradition relies on the context and the culture and the way how do we reproduce this culture throughout communication. Critical tradition is all about ideology and discourse. Rhetorical tradition is about communication as an art of public speaking. Phenomenological tradition focused on the way how we understand the experience of other people and the experiences of communication practices themselves. And lastly, semiotic tradition is about signs and symbols. For our discussion, and so we can further understand the 7 traditions, kindly pick a tradition that can best describe one practice you are doing at work. Thank you and keep safe.